And look who's here.
Finally, I made it.
Finally, you made it.
It's a busy conference day. There's a lot going on.
And busy is good. Like, you want to be busy here. You don't want to be just boring, just like not busy
sitting in the cold
like that. Well, I'm freezing right now too. So, but Destaney is here, and we're going to talk a little bit more about PPC tactics and what's best practice paired with creative, and are you doing the best, and all that kind of fun stuff. Where do you see the landscape going for the rest of 2024 for ads, right? So I know that there's, PPC, sponsored brand, sponsored display, there's DSP, but like at what level, from my experience, not everyone's ready for DSP.
Yeah.
If you're more bottom funnel, for the most part, if you're a smaller brand, DSP is not going to give you that return that you're looking for. It's more upper funnel kind of, brand awareness and stuff like that. But like, where do you see for the rest of 2024 where people can really lean into ads strategically?
I think if we're opening up with, immediate actionable items, it's brand building is the whole direction Amazon's going, right? And at the end of the day, they're weeding out sellers who can't afford to pay all the fees. They're weeding out, 300 different sellers of phone cases or pins or highlighters, right? They're only looking for the best of the best. And that is really driven through the people who are able to build a brand and connect with an audience. And Amazon's giving us a lot of opportunity for that across bottom of the funnel advertising types. I mean, you're going to do a really quick walkthrough of some sponsored brands with a custom image. That custom image increases your click-through rate like upwards of 200%. And all you have to do is upload a lifestyle image. And it takes up a really large portion of the page. And same thing with sponsored display. We have Gen AI that's being utilized for both sponsored brands and sponsored display, which is making it much more scalable for all sellers and brands. It's a huge opportunity to compete because larger brands have a lot of hurdles to get through to get those creatives approved.
Yeah.
But small sellers can immediately take a brand new ad type, a new sponsored TV or a new custom image, and get up and running within 30 minutes.
That's crazy. Like, are you seeing like through your end, through your agency or through other people that there are people that don't have good assets that either still do well in PPC or struggle with high ACOS, high tacos, and then they don't know what to do?
Yes and no. One, let's talk about the key there that you called out. It's PPC, which is pay-per-click. If you have am I allowed to say shit?
You can, good. Yeah, no, that's fine. This is LinkedIn. Microsoft isn't going to say no.
Fantastic. If you have a terrible asset or a terrible custom image or a terrible video because you just were really scrappy and you threw it up there, like if it's that bad, they're not going to click on it.
Yeah.
So it's low risk. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of what we're talking about here is the platform is so much more competitive than it used to be. So if you have a terrible asset, but your number one competitor has a fantastic asset, you're going to be at a disadvantage. So it's kind of this combination between being first to market, getting it up and running really quick and not worrying about being perfect, but continuously optimizing to still make sure you are best in class.
Always be testing.
Always be testing.
Always be testing.
If you haven't seen John's most recent post on Always Be Testing, I think that was 5 days ago, ABT.
ABT, always be testing, formerly ABC. Now with brand launches, and then we're going to take a look at some examples, right? But for like someone right out of the gate, like here we're at the Pattern Show, there's huge 7, 8, 9 figure sellers. These aren't like brand new startup kind of companies. But for the person that's just starting out, that's probably maybe watching this, like, is it best practice to deploy all ad tactics, or is it like to run sponsored brands, sponsored display, sponsored product, to do offensive, defensive targeting, to run DSP? I mean, not DSP, but
the first thing that needs to be considered is your budget, right? If you have a small budget, you need to be focused on maximizing your most profitable ad types and your highest conversion drivers, which is always going to be sponsored products. That being said, if you have multiple ASINs with history, then sponsored brands is going to be fantastic because it's going to allow you to build off the brand halo of your established products and build a lot more authenticity and trust.
Yeah.
Sponsored display. If you're launching in a color variation that no one else has, or a flavor variation, or a lower price point, or some type of competitive advantage, sponsored display will do well. So the reason I mentioned that is there's a lot of misconceptions in the space that you don't start with all ad types. But as always, it depends. It depends on your budget and where you're at in the category. So really need to consider probably those two aspects before building an SOP for launching.
Sweet. Well, let's take a look at some stuff, right? So I know you can't see you right now. You're sitting next to me. They could see us and they could see the screen.
I can't look at myself while I'm
You can't look at
talking
yourself
here.
right now. No. We're very low budge here. I don't have my extra monitors.
New
right?
season of The Boys is launching June 13th.
That's it. What a great show.
Wow.
That's one of the
I
best.
am
One of the
incredibly
goodies.
excited about that.
So I was looking before at some examples of here, coffee creamer sugar free. So for me, I don't have sugar anymore, right? Shout out Diet Dr. Pepper for sponsoring the Pattern Show. I'm just kidding. They're not a sponsor. Please don't come at us.
I really hate this Nestle sponsored brand.
This one right
Yeah.
Where's this one right here?
Yeah.
This one right here, right?
That one specifically. That's a terrible product.
So that's one thing I tell people about, right? So we're going to do a little down and dirty kind of grab over here. So this is, tell people what kind of ad this is. I know what kind
It's
of ad.
not even the main product.
So this is a brand ad. Yes.
Sponsor brand headline search ad.
Sponsored, exactly. So you have all of this space right here, right? Is this best practice to use these 3 images over here that really are not telling you anything?
No.
It's not, right? So, when we're looking at here, I can't tell what this is. There's no count. There's no large. Even in the title, sometimes people say like the title over here will say the count, but you can see it often it's put at the end, so it gets cut off.
Yeah.
It's truncated. So I don't
It's
know
also
how many.
not Prime eligible.
Yeah, right. So why am I going to click on it if I'm doing Prime? Something like this. How many pieces are here? You're not telling me.
Or flavor variations.
Or flavor, right? So even this right here is dead pixel real estate space, right? So this brand is paying lots. These aren't cheap, right? I mean, like this.
No, that specific placement is probably around $15 to $20 a click.
Yeah, I mean, and they're leaving a lot to be desired over here, right? So
let's pause really quick right there.
Yeah.
Actually, talk about sponsor brands in general. Across the board, as an agency, what we have seen is ROAS is almost always in line with sponsor products, which is a misconception I'm always talking about in the space. A lot of people run sponsor brands in a poor fashion, not granular enough. And they come back and they're like, okay, ROAS is terrible or ACOS is terrible relative sponsor products. But at the end of the day, it's not. It's the same placement, but with more creative control.
Right.
And it's still bid and budget optimization.
Right.
So they should be running almost in tandem. But where people mess up with sponsor brands is similar to this. They go too broad because it is a pain to set up. You have to build a landing page. You have to write copy. You have to upload an image. You have to decide what products you want in your landing page and where that landing page is being driven. So what people tend to do is they'll do something like this, where they'll throw all of their products into one
Just
broad
random
category campaign. Yeah. But in reality, there's a lot of opportunity here to, one, segment out the copy in the headline search ad, right? What search term did you type in?
I typed in coffee creamer sugar free.
So if it were me, I would say, okay, we're showing all of our sugar-free SKUs in the landing page. We're going to be calling out in the copy that it is sugar-free. So it looks like a dynamic ad that's adjusting to the search term.
Yeah.
I don't hate the custom image just because and this is your area of expertise, but there's not a lot we can do in terms of wording or anything like that. And it honestly does look like sponsor brands.
Yeah. So it's just not compelling for me to click, right? So when I go down here, so one thing you said was in tandem, right? So they're doing sponsor brand, but it doesn't look like they're doing sponsor products, right? They have organic for one of their listings over here as number 1, which do you often find that if a brand has organic placement number 1, they'll peel back from sponsored product ads?
They shouldn't peel back as a whole. The true answer is to take your other SKUs that have less shelf presence, anything ranked lower on the page, and advertise that. Because then you're maximizing share of shelf, right?
Yeah.
With that sponsored brand ad, you have 3 different products being showcased. You have 1 organically ranked. So now you have 4 other placements that you can win. And those placements are going to help improve your organic rank overall, which is something that I think we talk about a lot, is Amazon advertising isn't just a silo. It's not a marketing budget. Your Amazon advertising should work in tandem with your overall revenue goals because it does improve your positioning on the page, which increases your top line sales, which keeps your tacos stable.
Yeah. So, and then when I come down here and I pulled an example over here that I spoke to you about before where I did a little kind of mock-up, but
I really like that.
Yeah, so they're paying for, position 1, right? I'm not going to click. I when I pulled this, by the way, I pulled their organic listing. I didn't want to cost them any money for the click.
Mm-hmm.
But another good example here, and I'm trying not to make anyone spend money they don't need to, but when I look at like when people are doing paid, right? So Splenda over here, these are all paid placements, but there's no quantity here, right? This almost looks like someone took it in a basement, like a picture. So you have this dead pixel real estate space to put flavor profiles, to put quantity, to put value prop, and they're not doing it. Versus guys like this, which are not doing as much volume as these other guys, but they're showing you the actual product outside the packaging. They're showing you the final result here. They're focusing on the flavor with vanilla.
Yeah.
So I kind of took that with, have you heard of this brand, KOS?
KOS?
Or is it just KOS?
Is it KOS or KOS?
KOS?
Good work.
All right, thank you.
We have a fantastic audience here.
So I took kind of what they had, and this is what they had prior. And I just did two things. Like, they're using dead pixel real estate space. So this 179 servings may or may not be physically on the lid,
bottle.
And that's okay. Have you noticed that where if you look in like customer reviews and you see that it looks different, no one's going to care, because this is just a post edit that you may find, if it works in a post edit, that you may roll it out in your production as a final production thing. But I think this is important, but they're not showing the actual product. When something's consumable, transparency is huge. So showing someone, I just pulled out some powder in Canva and a coconut.
Yeah.
And it says the word coconut here, right? But showing the coconut hammers home that this is coconut. So I just think, and I'm just curious what your opinion is with this, like, we can run a PickFu poll on these all day long, but if I say this, let's go to coconut milk, right? So now that we picked that one out, so coconut milk powder, because that's what it was, right? So they're coming up number one organic. Number one paid. They're not coming up number one organic. So I'd be curious, right, to see if I ran a PickFu against this and this as is, what the results would be, and then ran my modified version versus this and see what the results would be.
Yeah.
And with PickFu, we could do it right now, like on the fly, right? So I can create a new poll. I can go here, design my own poll. And I could say, if you were shopping on Amazon, which product would you rather buy? What do you think of PickFu? Do you like PickFu?
I do.
PickFu is the goatee.
Big fan.
So then what I would do is I would go back to this over here, right? I would take their image, save image as, very, very simple stuff. Save it to downloads. Then I would go to their competitor, right? I'm going to say number one organic would be their competitor. I'm not really looking into it too much, but take this over here, save. Right, then I'm going back into PickFu, and I'm just uploading. Okay, so this one here, and it alternates, by the way. So if you put option A when you upload it, it's not going to always show option A to all the respondents.
Yeah.
So it'll alternate back and forth. So this one and this one, if you're shopping on Amazon, which product would you rather buy? Pay no mind to that. This is a head-to-head, right? So we're going to do a small audience of 15, United States, target audience, and we'll just do Amazon Prime member. We're going to make it easy just for speed, but you can drill down to health, age range, religious affiliation, how they dress, all this other kind of good stuff. So I'm going to go here, and within a couple of clicks, this is $16 to validate like if this is going to work or not. And then go over here, and then it's already collecting data. So then now we're going to see in real time, within 15 minutes or less, why they would like this over this, or why they prefer this over this. Yeah. I can already tell you that people are going to like the canister over the bag. Yeah. They're always going to like the canister over the bag.
Even small details like the shadowing.
Yeah.
Everything looks fantastic.
Yeah. So we'll see what they're going to actually say, right? And then it's interesting once I upload this. So then I can go back. I don't even have to wait for the results, right? I can go over here and create a new poll. Already 3 respondents are answering, right? So I can open a poll builder. And we have tons of templates over here. Keep it the same, because whenever you A/B test anything, it has to be the same, or you're changing one thing, not multiple. So I'm going to go here. Nope. I think I uploaded the wrong one. No, I don't want to upload that. So I want to upload the competitor, right?
And your new one.
And the new one. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to remove that. I have the new one here. And guys, like, you can do this in Canva for $12 a month to really affect your, like, I tell people all the time, this is your money.
Yeah.
This is your ad spend. Like, this is super.
Well, I think that's the part that a lot of people don't always consider. Like, your Amazon advertising's only job is to really drive clicks.
Yeah.
So you want to maximize that click through, right? You want to get more people into your ad, but if people are clicking and not purchasing, that's a listing issue.
That's
right?
scary.
Because they clicked, right?
Yeah.
They were interested enough to click into your listing, and then something within your listing turned them away. So if you're getting clicks, your Amazon advertising, it's doing its job.
Yeah.
If your ACoS or ROAS is not in line with what your expectations are, that's an optimization problem, not necessarily a broken PPC problem.
Yeah. So now you can see here, we have the polls running. So, we'll come back to these in a little bit. Hopefully, we can have some results.
Can you go back to the main search page? Because I want to shout out something really fast. This whole practice that we've been doing, Gabby, Jeff Cohen, and I spoke about at Amazon Accelerate last year, and we called it the mom test.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we called it that is, like, anyone who's in e-commerce, your mom's probably asked you, what do you do for work? And you're like, oh, I do Amazon. They're like, oh, you work for Amazon, right?
All the time. Oh, you work for
Yes.
Amazon.
So what we do is we explain to our mom, we pretend that our mom's buying our product. I'm like, Mom, if you were going to buy my coconut milk powder, what would you do?
Yeah.
And she pulls out her phone and she types in coconut milk powder.
Yes.
And this is what you see. And the reason we call it the mom test is because we want to put ourselves in the shoes of the customer. This is a great example. Like, let's look at this page. We can easily see what image I would probably say is better, but could be improved. That's cost. But now we see price point. Anthony's is probably number one because they have the lowest price point, right?
Yeah.
But cost is really standing out with that $22.97.
Yeah.
So you need to run this for all of your products.
Yeah.
Like, if you're wondering why your products aren't doing well, look at how it compares on a retail shelf. Open up your search results and say, why wouldn't someone buy my product compared to the 4 others? If you're going to be more expensive than everyone else, you better have a good enough listing to convince someone to purchase.
Yes.
If you're going to be lower price point, you can maybe get away with a little bit cheaper because customers are price conscious.
Yes.
And that's the steps that you need to go through to understand how you're competing in the search results.
And I tell people, it's funny you say that, though. You call it the mom test.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people all the time on coaching calls, meetings, I say, if I can take a main hero image and I can give it to my 9-year-old son, and he can tell me from that main hero image what he's getting, it's a good main hero image.
And honestly, a 9-year-old could tell you what search terms that you need to be bidding on.
Yeah.
That's how simple it should be. I love when I get questions around, like, what are your secret keyword research tactics?
Well,
I'm like,
and tricks and
stop.
stuff.
Like, don't overthink it. At the end of the day, what are customers going to be typing in that's going to lead them to your product?
Yeah.
And if they're clicking on that, not buying, again, let's figure out where.
And especially in like the protein supplement space, it's a monster category.
Yeah.
Like, everyone and their mom.
Yes.
We were talking about Ken Jennings doing his own supplement line,
Yes.
right? So, like, we're kidding, right? But, everyone is doing it. So, like, look at this. You're inundated with coconut milk powder. How are any of these different? And, 2K in the last month versus 900, it's a big difference, right? So what could this brand do to step up their game to compete with these guys, right? Yeah. We'll add more elements.
It's the same freaking packaging, basically.
It's literally the same thing.
We live in an age where a 9-year-old could also pick up their phone, contact a manufacturer, and put a product on the internet.
Yeah.
My sister has helped me with Canva presentations, and she's in high school.
Wow.
And that's really important because when anyone and everyone can create a product, how do you stand out? How do you make a product that's better? And that is through brand building and understanding your core audience.
Yes. So let me pull this up here. Okay. So we see here. So the original versus the competitor. This is this right here. So we'll open like in a new tab. Take a look at this. And they're winning.
Yeah.
Funny enough, without any modifications, they're winning. Right. So why, even if you're winning, right? We didn't drill down. We did a down and dirty kind of just, we didn't say who the ICP is, if it's men, women, if it's health conscious people, because that's why it's super important. But like looking over here, pouches are easier to store. Again, the pouch and the canister kind of thing is appealing. I like the cover with the brown and beige. It gives a premium aesthetic, right? Well, I mean, this is brown and beige too, but why do people like the current one? It's the container look more expensive. The canister looks strong and sturdy. The container, so it's always going to be container style, right?
They have the USDA is larger on cost as well. Someone mentioned, which is a great call out, right?
Yeah.
I guess you guys can't see my.
You're like pointing in.
I'm over here like here.
Yeah.
It's really tiny. It doesn't stand out.
Yes,
so for people who care about that, having it in green, It's very bold on the packaging.
Yeah,
These are the small things that a customer considers beyond price point reviews.
100%. And then taking a look over here, we're still getting the data on this one, but it looks like it's winning. So it's winning against this one versus this one. It's still winning, but not by as much, right? So this, you could see over here why.
Coconut on the outside's a nice look. Look at that.
Exactly. Coconut on the outside's a nice look. It's a powder.
I'm over here like on my iPhone, like leaving a PickFu review over there. Like, coconut.
I prefer the package.
Yes.
Better shows off the flavor. Like you said, USDA. Powder fresh. People want to see it because anything consumable. And again, it's still not done. So there's going to be some people on the internet saying it's not done. So load 3 more responses. So you can see it's catching up, right?
Yeah.
So the Anthony's is catching up now because they're saying it looks more exciting than the other boring design. If I can avoid plastic, I will because of the packaging, right? So no matter how we shake it or, bring it down, understanding like you can't go into it blind. You can't go into it just assuming what people are going to want to have. Like it's better to have the know, right?
Yes.
So tell me more about what you're seeing with the creative aspect, right? Because I know at Better Media, you guys don't do creative, right? Because that's not your wheelhouse.
Nope.
So what happens when someone has crappy creative? Like, what's that talk track like with a client to say like, hey, I know you want to spend $100,000 a month on this, but the creative is just not good.
Well, interesting topic, because I know this comes up pretty frequently in the space. We are, I would say, a more boutique agency, right? We've never wanted to be a one-stop shop. And I mention that because we don't do any conversion rate optimization.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do any click-through rate optimization in terms of managing creative. And it's because the brands that we work with are typically more established.
And they have in-house and their own creative design team.
So we work directly with their in-house design teams. That being said, everyone on our team has either started or sold their own private label brand and or came from a full service agency or brand side. So we are well versed in what makes a good listing, as you can probably tell by John and I's conversation here. And I think a core aspect is Amazon's now given us the insights to understand how we compete against the category, and they never have before.
Yeah.
So we have brand metrics, insights, and planning, which tells you your actual conversion rate relative to the whole category, right? So if a brand comes to me and they're like, why is this terrible? Or like, why is this not running well? I'm like, okay, let's look at the data. Your conversion rate's 20% less than category. You fix that and then come back to us.
Right. Okay. So the onus is on them to kind of do that, right?
Yep. We definitely communicate it, right?
Yep.
We look at click-through rate, we look at conversion rate, unit session percentage, like all of the fun variables, and have those conversations. And we also help guide and lead, like here's industry best practices for this. Here's John's post on how you can, update your main image and all of that. But we don't typically work with smaller sellers as well.
Well, it's important that working with an agency, a third party, I was just talking to Carbon 6 before, where, not every product is good for meta ads, right? Yeah. And then understanding and giving that transparency to the client is important because there's a ton of agency burn and fatigue in the space. That, right? So a lot of people are like, I went to one PPC agency, I went to another one, they blame my creative, they blame me for this, and I think when you have that, like what you're doing, that transparency, that's saying, hey, the reason why this is happening, go fix it, and then come back and we can actually make it better for you.
100%. And it's expensive. Service providers are expensive because, to your point, there's a premium on good talent in our space, right? Everyone hopped into this gold rush of e-commerce really early on, and it was a seller's market because brands didn't know how to vet agencies or how to look at different people. So we kind of chose the approach of maybe scaling a little bit slower, especially than a lot of our competitors, but also reputation matters so much in the space. Like you see it on brand side, right? You leave one bad review or get one bad review, SOL. And we also see that in the space. Like word travels very fast, especially when you have a large LinkedIn audience, right? So I think that's why I'll also open up with like the direction Amazon's going is a lot more competitive, right? They're really prioritizing the top 20% of sellers rather than what started them, which was anything and everything. And that influences how we do business on the platform.
But let me ask you this too. It's interesting because a lot of people are focusing on China's getting very smart.
Yep.
China used to be focused on price and they didn't care about brand.
Yep.
And China Direct that's selling on Amazon we've known this from multiple people. They're tripling down on brand,
Mhm.
right? So
Everyone is.
yeah.
You have to.
So what's your model like? Like if a China direct brand
Mhm.
reached out to you and said, "We want you to our advertising."
Yep.
Right. Is that something you would entertain?
100%.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters where or how. It's my ability to drive success in Amazon advertising is based on a good product and a good listing.
Yeah.
You give me a good product and a good listing, and I can make something happen.
The reason I say that though
Mhm.
was not like for location,
Yeah.
but for more of commoditization.
Yeah.
Right. Do you find that commoditized products that are okay with brand do better or worse than products that are very innovative and there's no other copycats that are out there?
So we manage massage guns and phone cases and supplements, right? And
That's inundated. That's like everything.
they're three of the most
Yeah.
competitive categories, I would say, in the space. Electronics and supplements, human supplements, are very difficult to run. And brand has to be a part of the story. It can't just be price point anymore, to your point. But the secondary aspect that I think we're seeing people move into is understanding their audience and audience building, right? Moving into display and brand building off platform or on platform.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing we'll typically look at when we're having that discussion of like, okay, you have decent brand, decent price point, but maybe you're not in the top. It's like, how willing are you to invest in awareness? Because one thing that happens, right? If you go look at like flashlights on Amazon, it's one of my favorite searches because like all the first 5 are the same main image.
Let's look. We got to look now.
And it's like, you're not going to stand out on the shelf and the immediate search. But if you run an off-platform DSP ad and you educate someone that they need a flashlight and you run a streaming TV ad that shows them, you just type in flashlight.
Flashlights?
Yeah.
Oh, man, all these things are the same.
Like, they're all the exact same.
This is all the same stuff.
Same hand and or box. Like, that one's one of my favorites. I keep pointing at everything.
This one right here?
Yes, those two. They're the exact same dang box.
Yeah. Red and black,
Yes.
right? So if I went in the flashlight space, for example, I would avoid red and black.
Yes. And the only way you're going to stand out here is by being the lowest price, always running a deal, then it's a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
But if you run a stream TV ad off platform that showcases that you have a magnet flashlight, top grade flashlight,
All the value props.
and then they go, your customer sees your ad and like, oh, maybe I want a flashlight. And then they go to Amazon, type in flashlight.
Yeah.
And then they see your sponsored product ad, they're going to be so much more likely to convert because you educated them with a sponsor brand video ad or a sponsored TV or streaming TV ad.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the new direction we're really pushing people.
See, it's even funny.
That's
like
spelled wrong.
I know. That's exactly what I was pointing out,
Will
right?
you pronounce that for me? LinkedIn appropriate?
Okay. So I'll tell you offline what I think it actually sounds like, but online it's analysis.
Waterproof O-ring.
Zoom out instead of
Like-
zoom out.
So
or
back to our point.
near here, hold on. Floodlight near distance.
Yeah, that
But this thing is doing 10,000 units, and we know that this is just
95.
But we know, I don't have helium 10 installed on this, but we know this number is probably low.
Yeah.
Like it's probably doing a lot more
Yeah.
than 10,000 because I don't know what that metric is between 10 and 20 or 10 and 15, but it's doing much more than 10,000. But this is a China direct brand, right? And they're you can see they're tripling down on branding, right?
Yeah.
But this is why it's super important that your assets that you're advertising, Vic Toper, I don't even know. Oh, that's the brand name. Okay. But yeah, these aren't even, but let me ask you this too, right? So UGC content and ads, are you seeing success with that? Like actually running paid ads behind things like UGC content or
100%.
like, oh yeah,
100%.
or like on Amazon Inspire
Mhm.
kind of stuff? Like, are you seeing good traction with that?
Inspire, maybe not as much, just from I don't think its adoption is quite there yet, but we've ran product launches with Twitch. We've had a live streamer on Twitch and it was an incredible launch. We've had people run just like national media campaigns, like TV slots for supplements. And those people will watch TV and then go type in the brand name on Amazon and we have an ad perfectly to bring them into the funnel, right?
Yeah.
And it all comes down to price, right? For supplements, we consistently see $30 to $40 cost per clicks for top of the page.
Wow.
$30 to $40. Now,
that's a real number. Like let's
lifetime value is what's considered, right? Ideally, they spend $40 on that click convert the customer, and then the customer comes back and doesn't click an ad the next 3 to 4 purchases, right?
Mhm.
So supplements and anything with
Or
high
they do
lifetime
subscribe
value.
and save.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's super.
But if you
interesting.
educate them off platform,
Yeah.
and then they come to Amazon, they're more likely to convert. And when you're running, like for supplements, a good brand is typically 35 to 45% conversion rate.
Yeah.
So a third or a half of people who click on your ad are purchasing.
Well, you said a good number, right?
Yep.
Which is, what do you consider a good CTO? I know it's a very loaded question.
I will not answer that question. I'm
were
sure
you
you've
asked
seen-
that before?
You guys have ran about 73,000 polls, and I've argued on about 10% of them on what one I prefer. Click-through rate matters, but there's too many variables, in my opinion.
Yeah.
On the Amazon advertising side, it
Yeah.
comes down to the search term. It comes down to the sponsored ads at the top of the page.
Yeah.
Because if we go back again to, or we don't have to go back.
No, let's go back.
The flashlight ad you just showcased had 3 or 2 products with lightning deals, which means your click-through rate is going to be, if you go back 1, your click-through rate is going to be lower today.
Yeah.
Because you have 3 competitors running limited time deals that are cheaper than you.
So that's interesting, though, right? So I'll stop sharing the screen. So it's interesting that click-through rate has a lot of variables, right? But how much does those do those icons and badges influence click-through rate?
Yeah.
Right. So if you have a low price, no badge,
Yeah.
or a higher price with a badge,
Yeah.
maybe it's a coupon, maybe it's a lightning
Yep.
deal, something like that. You could have a higher price point, but that click-through rate would increase because of those kind of things.
Yep.
So this is interesting thing to think about. So
All of that to say, I don't typically give a standard. We'll definitely track like month over month or year over year or image changes,
Yeah.
right, as a comparison. But I've struggled to find any level of consistency
With click-through rates?
With click-through rate.
yeah. And the last question I'm going to ask you, because I know you're a very busy lady. What are your, it's a 2-parter. What are your expectations for what's going to happen for the rest of the year in regards to Amazon ads in the space? And then what's number 1 on your wish list of what you would want Amazon to do for Amazon ads in the space? We're jamming.
I don't know if you guys can hear the music in the background, but they just turned on music. I think 2 really big things is brands need to start embracing creative more. Amazon's pushing creative more, as we kind of mentioned. Creator connections, off-platform insights. You have to have some level. Maybe not DSP. You may not be ready, but you have to start building an audience off-platform or with Amazon's opportunities on and off-platform. The second thing I would say is just more data. They've done an amazing job. AMC is going to be
on your wish list, you mean?
Yeah, on my wish list. Amazon's done a fantastic job of giving us more data in the last year, to the point where I think most brands don't even realize what's possible. But I expect AMC to be a lot more accessible for brands. For those who don't know, Amazon Marketing Cloud allows you to pretty much see anything possible in terms of your data with search, display, and organic. So just more accessibility with data. I think the part that's really difficult for partners, both 1P and 3P, is how you make it actionable. I talk to so many brands that get so in the weeds on something, like, let's zoom out. Like, let's see how this is affecting. It's very loud. Let's prioritize better. And I think that's what some of these insights are allowing us to do.
But yeah, thanks. I appreciate you hopping on, and I'm glad you're able to make it.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll
It's
look
been
for some
incredible.
more stuff with PickFu and Better Media. Oh, we have to say this.
Yes.
Better AMS is now Better Media.
Yes.
But is it said Better Media or is it said
question.
BTR Media?
So funny enough, we were worried about moving too far away from like our roots and our brand. So we were like, okay, Better AMS, Better Media. But then our team was like, start chanting, we are BTR. And it was just fun.
So what do you say though? When you...
I typically say Better Media.
Okay.
But
That's what I've been
it's
saying,
fun
but
to
I was
say
like,
BTR too. So maybe after a few years, when people get used to Better Media, maybe they'll transition.
Yeah.
But I do like a lot of our core values are around being better. We're constantly internally like focusing on improvement. We are BT, better trust, better transparency. R, BTR, better results, better relationships. Those are our core values. So regardless, it is better. But it's fun to say BTR.
It is, and I always love when brands take the vowels out.
Yes.
It's just so cool to look at for marketing and stuff like that. yeah, Destaney was guys. If you don't know, this is the first time I'm meeting Destaney in person
Yes.
too. After speaking to Destaney for some time on LinkedIn,
And our
being
first
pals.
big content piece, and we have more coming.
We're having more coming as well. That's why I wanted to make sure I could say better media and not BTR Media and totally fumble the plug for that. But yeah, we have some collaboration and some efforts coming for some, best practices for ad management and, creative and how you could use, tactics that Destaney's talking about along with PickFu as well. So look out for that. They're jamming right now. So I think
We're gonna go head out.
We're gonna go have
dance.
some fun and stay tuned for next time. We have some more content coming out, but come back again.
Let's do it.
Awesome.
Thank you all.
Thanks so much.
See ya.
Bye.